Hey there, crafty friends. It's Tina the Scrappin' Rabbit. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel today. In this video, we're going to be creating a Love Valentine's themed card featuring a die from the Scrappy Tails Crafts shop. This die here is called the Umbrella Couple Layering Dies, and it is so unique and so original, and I absolutely adore it. So you have this couple standing underneath the umbrella with all of the little pieces to add specific layers, and I just think it's a fabulous set. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab my little snips. I'm going to go ahead and detach all of the little connecting pieces between all of these dies so that I can run them through my die cutting machine with the intention of the colors and the patterns. So the base layer looks like this. You have all the lines in there to help you with the layering. Now I cut it out in white cardstock, and I'm going to be using my Copic markers to color the legs of the girl. I'm using the E11, the E00, and the E000. Now the legs are quite thin and small, so you don't have to get crazy with the coloring. I went ahead and added 2 separate layers of color, which is what I like to do when I'm using Copics. I really feel like it gives a nice rich color when you do that. Again, with the E11, the E00, and then the E000. And then there's also a hand that it's exposed there too at the top for the guy, and so I'm going to go ahead and color his hand as well. I cut the suit out of gray cardstock, and I'm going to grab some of my gray Copic markers just to add a little bit of dimension. So I'm picking 2 or 3 colors, maybe 4, and I'm just adding some lines and blending it out. So you can use Copic markers to color on colored cardstock as well, just to add a little bit of depth and dimension. And you don't need to do that because the lines are already there, but this is something that I just felt like I wanted to do. So I chose the gray using some gray Copic markers, and you can use whatever markers you have in your stash for this and choose any colors, which is also a great feature of layering dies, is because you can have so many different combinations. Again, for the Valentine's Day theme, I went ahead and I chose the pinks and the grays, and I really love the way that they look together. So I grabbed my pink Copic marker, and I'm adding a little bit of an outline as well as some little pleats in there, and I'm just blending it out with my RVs pink colors. I think that's the 34 and the 32, and then just blending out with the 00. And since you already have pink as the base color for the cardstock, you don't have to add a ton of color to these little pieces just to add that little bit of depth. I really enjoyed working with this die set and the little pieces. I just love using the layering dies, and the heels are just so darn cute. Again, endless possibilities with whatever color choices you decide to go with. Now for the umbrella, I used some pattern papers from my stash, and I did add a little bit of pink distress ink along the cuts and along the outline just to give that some depth as well. And the umbrella layers up in a very specific direction as well. After I glued the umbrella on, I kind of wish that I had waited, because I think that it might even look better if you popped up the umbrella or added an additional layer. So I'm going ahead and I'm adding all the layers that come underneath the umbrella, and I'm just trying to pop up the umbrella just a little bit so that it looks like it's coming over the suit as well as her dress. So adding the pants and then the shoes, and you can see that it's really starting to come together, and all of the extra time that you take doing the shading with the markers really does pay off. I really think that paying attention to these little details makes all the difference in the world. So I'm just gluing the top of her dress to the bottom of her dress, and then as well as her little heels, using some liquid glue, and the tweezers really help you to line them up. But they're very easy to layer because those lines are already there, so it's never a mystery where anything goes. So I'm going to go ahead and color the hair using some Copics just to add a little bit of dimension, and blend that out with 2 different color browns, and then again using the brown cardstock makes it super quick and easy to do that. Add a little glue, glue her hair down, and then it'll be time to add her high heels. I'm glad that I chose the pattern paper because I really feel like it helps that umbrella pop, and there's those little heart details on there that gives it that Valentine's Day theme. So lastly, I'm just going to be adding those little heels, and those are a little trickier to get on because the little pieces are so tiny, but they are so cute once you get them all lined up. And I just like to use my fingers to line up the edges of the die against that base layer. I'm just going to add a little bit of color to get the edges from the white peeking through, and I just love the way that that turned out. And that completes the die cut piece there. So now to go on to the background of my card, I decided to grab some of my Distress ink cubes, and I grabbed a selection of pinks as well as like some burgundies because I felt like that matched the best with the colors that I chose for the die cuts. And I'm just using the little daubers to blend from the top of the card to the bottom so that I'm giving a pink ombre look, and it fades down all the way to the bottom of the card. So it does take a little bit of time. I think I do maybe 2 or 3 different layers of color, just adding it a little bit at a time. And I'm using some Bristol Smooth cardstock, which is a great cardstock for inking because it really helps you get the layers of coloring on there without any harsh lines or separations. You get a really nice smooth blend. So here I am going in with that second layer of color. Again, using the burgundies, going into the pinks. You can choose any colors for this, but since this is actually going to be a Valentine's Day card for my husband, I went ahead and made it a love themed card featuring some hearts. You could use this card for an anniversary card. You can use it as a friendship card. So many different ways, but it definitely has that romantic theme, which is what I'm using it for my card today. Smoothing out the blend, going from darkest to light, and I really love the way that that turned out. So I grabbed a Falling Hearts stencil from my stash, so you have the thicker area of the hearts fading down to a thinner area. So I lined it up where I felt like the hearts could be falling down for rain, and I'm grabbing the darkest colored ink and I'm going over the little hearts, going dark to light. And I was just taking a peek to make sure that it's looking the way that I want to when I lift up the stencil, and I think that it's coming together just fine. And I like how you have the falling little hearts towards the bottom where they're more sparse. So that is the background of my card. I did get that little line on there, and all I did was take the dauber and blend it, and it just blended right out. So I'm getting some glimmer mist. I shook it up really nice, and then now I'm just flicking it onto my paper, adding a little bit of shimmer. This is one of my favorite things to do to ink blended backgrounds, is to add those shimmery drops. I love the way that looks. And then I went ahead and I grabbed my Scrappy Tails Fairy Sentiments stamp set. So many great sentiments on this set. And there's this one here, I love you, and that's the one that I'm going to use for my card. I did wait for my card to completely dry before I went ahead and stamp the sentiment. I used some anti-static powder along the bottom and stamped it with my Versamark ink a couple times, and then I grabbed some gold embossing powder that I'm going to melt over that sentiment, and I'm going to have a nice gold sentiment there at the bottom of my card layer. Heating up my heat tool nice and hot, melting that down, and I love, love, love the way that I love you looks. So I'm getting a top folding A2 sized card base. I'm adding some glue to that Bristol Smooth cardstock that we just inked up, and I'm centering that on to my card base, and I'm pressing down nice and firm so that I don't get any glue lines. I usually don't have too many issues with the Bearly Arts glue, but I'm just going to spread it out with my bone folder to make sure that I get a nice flat seal. For the couple, I'm going to grab some double-sided adhesive foam tape. I'm going to pop that die cut up to give it a little bit of dimension. And I do take the time to cut out all those thin little pieces to cover her legs and her heels as well, so that it's a nice covered, popped up die cut. Peeling off that background tape, popping it onto my card. Now, since this card is going to be for my hubby, I didn't want to add too much sparkle and bling. It is already pink and red, but I feel like that is allowed because it is Valentine's Day. And that completes my card for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you like this romantic themed card. You can check out the links below to the products if you want to check out the Scrappy Tails shop. I hope you have a wonderful week and a happy Valentine's Day, and gives you some inspiration if you wanted to make a card for that special someone. Thanks again for stopping by. I really do appreciate all your comments, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye for now.